The Connection Show. Inspiring hope, health, healing, connecting the dots of your story and transforming your life. Sponsored by Braveheartworkshops, live with Jill Reynolds.
The Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing. Sponsored by Braveheartworkshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me from the heat in Florida is Jason McNamara. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you for having me, Jill. It's a pleasure to be here.
And Jason is doing this live from his car because in the house, his wife homeschools. So he's sitting in his car in the heat. So he's a real trooper of a dad. So Jason, would you take us on a journey in just a moment to your childhood and share with us the good, the bad, and the ugly of your life? But right before we begin and hear from you, I'd love to just flash to the audience and let them know about an amazing getaway experience that Braveheart Workshops is offering to our clients out there listening today. And that's a getaway. I'm going to just flip to it for 1 second. A getaway to Aruba, to this beautiful home. It's a private home. It's got its own little Cove Beach here and a picture of the swimming pool. And you can come any of these dates from February the 5th through February the 14th. You can choose if you want 5 nights, 6 nights, or 7 nights. And I still have 2 bedrooms available if you want to get away. If you do, go to my website at braveheartworkshops.com and call me today so we can get you in. The price is amazing. It includes lodging, breakfast, meals, ground transportation. So all you have to do is get on an airplane and show up. So, and we wish Jason could come, but he's already blessed to be in Florida. So the rest of us that have been in ice storms around the country, I'm sure you'd like to be at 92 degrees on the beach. Right, Jason?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Aruba sounds fun, even from Florida, but I am double booked. So I hope some 2 lucky people or families or groups get to come and hang out with you, because I know it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, we're going to have a really good time, and we're celebrating my 69th birthday. So come and hang out. And you know what else is going on there? I didn't realize it. They have like a New Orleans carnival the whole week we're there in the streets. This big like Mardi Gras carnival is going on in Aruba while we're there. So that should be a blast. So anyway, let's divert back to you. If you would, take us on that journey to little Jason growing up in grammar school, and take us through your journey through junior high, high school, if you did college, and how you ended up doing what you do today.
Sure. Well, first I want to say I'm still in college. I'm always going to be learning. But to take you back to the good, the bad, the ugly, I'm going to start from where I was born. I was born in the Caribbean, in the Virgin Islands. And shortly after that, my parents, my mom and dad, they decided to move back to Florida because they thought a more traditional education as opposed to a Caribbean education would be better for me. And all of this is hearsay because I don't really remember, but this is what my family tells me. So I was really young at this point. The good is I was born in the Caribbean and I grew up in Florida. The bad, shortly after that, my mom and dad got divorced, and my mom was a working full-time mom, and I'd see my dad just a few times a year. So growing up, I had a lot of independence. I was an only child. So there was a lot of times where I was learning how to cook for myself, learning how to take care of myself, and just learning how to entertain myself, learning, how to be in my own little world as by myself. So I've always had that mindset to kind of figure out what I needed and be more independent than most kids my age. Growing up, we were on a budget. My mom, she was a nurse. She didn't give me a lot of money or chores or an allowance or anything like that. So if I wanted something, I had to figure out how to get it. She was a nurse. So from a young age, I remember being on the school bus talking to other kids thinking, wow, I really like that toy. And I started bartering. I learned how to barter. I learned how to figure out what people wanted so I could figure out what I needed and we could make some kind of deal or exchange. So I like to tell a story about how, I would want this video game, right? So I talked to the kid with the video game and he wanted these Pokemon cards. So I would go talk to the kids with the Pokemon cards and they wanted some Pogs. So then I talked to the kid with the pogs, and they wanted candy. I had candy. So I traded, and then I traded, and then I traded. And off of a few dollars of candy, I got a $50 video game. It's like, this could work. So I've always had that entrepreneurial mindset at a young age to figure out, that situation. So growing up a little bit further in life, I ended up moving to, my mom ended up getting remarried.
Before we go any further, because there's a part that part of the show is I connect the dots of story. So let's stay in that little childhood for a little bit. So with dad leaving and only seeing him a few times a year and mom working the hours, tell me about the emotional state of yourself. You learned how to be an entrepreneur, and you learned how to figure things out. How were you feeling emotionally during that time? Were you feeling lonely? Were you feeling scared? Were you feeling angry, sad?
Definitely, there were some times I was lonely. Boredom rings a bell, but not necessarily sad or scared or anything. More so when you have a situation that you're in and you don't know any better, you accept it for your reality.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to pause there so I could connect with you more and see what little Jason was feeling and going through. And did you have a good connection with your dad when you saw him? Did you go through that grief stage when you'd see him and then he'd leave, see him and then he'd leave?
I'll say yes. My dad, he spent time with me. He loved me. He nurtured me. But there were also some disappointments there, and I had to learn how to accept him and his flaws, and just take what he was able to give me.
Okay. All right. So thank you for pausing on that. I just wanted to connect a little further there with you. Sometimes we jump so quickly, it's hard then for the audience to know you. And the whole purpose is to know you. So let's go into junior high then, if we could, and wherever journey you want to go next.
Well, that is exactly where I was going to go next. So at this stage in my life, we moved. We moved out of the home that my mom and dad bought, that my dad left for my mom. She sold that home, got remarried, then got divorced, and we moved into another neighborhood, which was more of an urban environment. So, how do I say this? It was a poor neighborhood. I was one of the few white kids in the neighborhood, and at that point, that's when I'm becoming of age to go outside and play. So I'm going outside, I'm running around the streets, I'm playing basketball, I'm doing all the things that kids do at a young age, making friends. And I met some amazing people there, and some people that probably weren't so amazing as well. I ran across people of all walks of life. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot growing up in that environment. I learned how to fight. I used to box, play football, play basketball. I learned how to stand up for myself. And defend myself, and I learned how to socialize. I learned a lot of different things at that point in my life. But I also learned that my choices could get me in trouble. Hanging out with the wrong crowd can get me in trouble. And I always hung out with people older than me, it seemed like. I was never the kid that hung out with kids my own age. I would always hang out with adults or teenagers older than me. So I learned from their mistakes. I saw behaviors in people that I saw around my neighborhood or in my life, and I saw their life circumstances, and I said, I don't want to live like that. So I was able to make different choices. I always did good in school, so I was able to focus in school. I worked a few jobs, and I really, really started evolving into the man I was going to become. So before I get into joining the military in my early adulthood, I'll say that I was one of the few students who passed an advanced placement college test in the 10th grade, the only student in my high school class that got the college credits. I was dual enrolled in 11th to 12th grade while I was working multiple full-time jobs. So I've always had that mentality. I was always good at learning, good at communicating, definitely good in the formal education, and always had a strong work ethic.
So hanging out in the urban area, obviously, and this is still in Florida, correct? You were in Florida?
Correct, South Florida.
Right. So in the urban area, I would assume it was Caucasians, Blacks, Hispanics, all different cultures in urban area. And you said different ages, and you had to learn how to fight. So At that point, did anyone try to influence you to get into gangs, start using drugs, alcohol, sex, acting out in those arenas? And did you fall prey into any of those with, again, the feelings that sometimes set in of boredom or loneliness? Sometimes we mask them with things that make us feel better.
Yes, so absolutely. So there were different gangs in my neighborhood. And one of the things I remember is there was actually a gang fight. And I remember, well, I was hanging out with some people and then another group of people, and I'm friends with everybody. Like, I didn't have problems. I wasn't in a gang. And they all started fighting. And I just walked up on somebody's porch and I sat and I said, I'm not involved in this. I was just hanging out. So I kind of watched as a spectator. But there were definitely people that were in my environment that made a lot of bad choices. And luckily, I always had a kind of a different mindset. I was able to think on my own. I remember I had friends that, some friends would chase drugs, right? They would want to smoke weed all day, right? Or some friends would chase women. That's their thing. They figure if they have a good love life, they're happy. And I remember telling those friends, I'm like, why are you chasing women? Like, I get it. I understand why you're doing that. But don't you think if you better yourself, if you invest in your future, you make yourself more attractive, women might actually chase you? So I try to drop some knowledge in some arenas, some things that I had got figured out at an early age. So like I said, being young and independent, being able to think for myself kind of helped me not fall prey to those influences of bad choices of, society, of trying to follow the crowd, so to speak. I was more of a trendsetter, even if I was the youngest kid in the group. I remember one time in the military, I had a bunch of chief petty officers and first class petty officers. And I told them, I said, you guys can do this better. And I was just freshly enlisted. And they didn't want to listen to me until I actually wrote it all down. And I put a brand new schedule on their desk. And I said, this is what I mean. And they were like, wow, you're right. We should be doing it this way. So my ability to think outside of the box and think for myself really played a huge role in me overcoming that environment.
Now, I love that you shared that. So the big question, when you have that ability to think outside of the box and see things in all kinds of different lenses, did you ever get yourself into trouble by speaking up where the person felt like you were in their lane? Like, that's hard sometimes. When you see things, it's hard sometimes to stay in your own lane when you see it and you want to fix it and make it well. How did you work through that? Or did you have the discernment to keep your mouth shut only when spoken to?
So I won't say I mastered that at a young age. I've always been the type that can be very outspoken, but I also knew when to shut up and stay in my lane. So there was a learning curve. And I remember one story's ringing a bell. It was shortly after I turned 18. And this guy I was with, I was hanging out with him, and the police were looking for him. And the police pulled up on us, and they found him. They put him in handcuffs, but they also put me in handcuffs for being next to him. I didn't do anything wrong. But my mouth got me a charge, got me a resisting arrest without violence, because while I was in handcuffs, I was arguing with the police officers. Probably wasn't as respectful as I should have been, but I mean, at this point, they picked me up and slammed me to the ground pretty hard, and I didn't think that was necessary. So I was annoyed. And ultimately, I went to court, and they dropped the charges because, of course, I wasn't resisting arrest without violence. But it teaches you, people with authority, they can slap your hand. So yes, I've learned to bite my tongue, especially in the military. I really was able to sharpen it. When you go through boot camp, there was a few times where I think my natural ability to communicate and stand up for myself actually made my recruit division commanders laugh, because they would go around yelling at everybody, and I would have my stoicism. Like, the things that I had went through in life up to that point, them yelling at me and telling me to do push-ups didn't hurt my feelings like it did some of the other kids or other young men in there. But I remember sometimes I had a few quirky responses for them, and they just busted out laughing. They were like, McNamara, you're good. Just go do what you want. I see you're just laughing at us. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. This is fun.
That's
But you got to remember, I mean, I had been in so many fights. I literally had bullets whizzing by my head before I ever joined the military, just for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So,
And so, what brought on some of those fights? So, again, keep in mind that when people hear the show, I encourage them to look for the similarities in your life with their own instead of the differences so their lives could be transformed. So, what brought on some of those fights that perpetuated into you fighting back?
well, a number of different things. I'd say the biggest thing was respect. I learned at a young age that in the neighborhood I was in, if I wasn't willing to fight and defend myself, and fight for my respect, that I wasn't going to get it. So when somebody disrespected you, where I grew up, you couldn't cower down. You had to stand up for yourself. So I learned doing that at a young age. And of course, me being one of the few Caucasian kids in the neighborhood, it almost seemed like it was a rite of passage. Like a new kid would come in to the neighborhood and they would feel like they'd have to disrespect the white kid. And then all my friends knew that I knew how to fight and I knew how to box. So they'd say, "Oh, J-Rock's about to mess him up." I had different nicknames. People call me J-Rock, J-Mac, all types of stuff, right? And so ultimately it was about respect. I always stood up for myself. I'm not going to let somebody call me names or steal from me or do anything like that. And I don't think I was the instigator most of the time. I think I was the guy that just had to be there at the right place at the right time, standing up for himself.
Now, as a male growing up with a mom who at this point was a single mom without being married, did you always find yourself fighting and standing up for her and the men that came into her life, that you protected her?
Yes. And also, you just reminded me of something. That was another reason. Because my mom is an attractive woman, and especially back then. So even some of the kids in the neighborhood, I couldn't let them talk about my mom. So I remember a few fights happened because of that, because they would say things about my mom being good looking. And I would say, "Hey, it's my mom, don't talk about her." And of course they would prod and I would prod. Then as a kid who didn't know any better, obviously I'm an adult now. I don't want any assault charges, but sometimes in the neighborhood we lived in, you just had to handle it the old-fashioned way. Let boys be boys.
You sounded a little emotional talking about mom there protecting her. Does that have some emotional charge for you? And
yeah, you made me remember that. And my mom worked, sometimes she worked overnight shifts, 14-hour days at the hospital. So I wouldn't get to see her as much as I wanted. But I definitely love her. She's a huge part of my life still. So
yeah, that's awesome. So you get out of the military, and what comes next?
Well, I didn't get into the military yet.
Oh,
but
okay.
we didn't talk about it.
Oh,
so
yeah, okay.
In the military, after boot camp, I was supposed to be an aviation technician, and I ended up being a prison guard in Guantanamo Bay. And then I ended up assisting with CIA interrogations.
Wow.
So I got a couple of Navy and Marine Corps achievement medals out of that deal. So then after the military, I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit more. Some of it I can't talk about because of operational security. I signed a contract. But after that, I worked for the state of Florida for a few years, helping veterans overcome barriers to employment. So my job was to find vets that were either underworked or not working and help them get back to work, help them get a sustainable income source from a job or something like that. So I did that for a few years. And that was hugely intrinsically rewarding, not very much extrinsically. So I'll pause right there and see if you want to talk about any of that.
Go ahead, keep going. Tell me a little bit more about it. Yeah, tell me a little bit more about where that goes.
So sure. So when I was working for the state, I had an excellent team. One of my partners, my business partners to this day, his name is Jordan Kale. One of our nonprofits is the Senior Chief Ron Zimmerman Foundation, who was actually our mentor. We did so many amazing things as a team. We really came together. We built something amazing, and we blew all the metrics out of the water for what the state thought we should do. We made a goal of getting 100 veterans hired in 100 days, which was unheard of for our region. The year before we all got there, they probably only did 130 veterans in the entire year.
Wow.
In that 100-day period of us all working our butts off, we got 435 veterans jobs.
Good for you. That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow. So take off with that then. And so what did you end up, where did you end up going next? What direction did your life take? And I know you're married, so I want to know, at what point did she come into your life? Or
Sure. All right. So after that, I was sitting there at my job, and my partner Jordan, he went off to be a nuclear engineer because that's what he did. He was a nuclear operator. My partner, Senior Chief Ron Zimmerman, he retired. So we had a new staff. The camaraderie wasn't there anymore. I wasn't as happy at that job anymore. So I wanted to get paid more. So I took a job doing sales. I went to True Green. I did door-to-door sales. Within the first couple of weeks, I was clearing probably close to 10K a month already. I was having good weeks. And they promoted me to sales supervisor. And I stayed there for a little bit, and then I transitioned, literally just about 4 months. Then I transitioned to another company that was similar, but only 10 blocks away from my house, and I got a company vehicle. So I transitioned into that company where I stayed for about 7 years. Retired as the #1 sales inspector in the nation's largest family-owned and operated pest control company. The name of that company is called Massey Services. They cover from Texas to the Carolinas down to the Keys. So I was able to do that effectively, train a lot of people, learn a lot of things. One of the best things I learned from that company was I learned how to do sales, obviously, from my whole life. And then I proved that I could do it. But what they taught me was how to be a trusted advisor. And that's one of the things I took later on in life and into what we're doing now. But when you really think about putting your customer first, you think about their needs, their wants, and giving them a 5-star customer service experience, they're more than likely going to recommend you to their friends and family. I was one of the few sales guys that would actually get tips from selling people. And my team didn't know. They didn't know how that was possible. How can a sales guy get tips? I don't know. They just cut me a check for $1,000, and then they handed me $50 in cash and said, "You did a great job."
well, and it's funny because when you connect the dots to little Jason learning how to take candy and turn that into a $50 video game, you already had the techniques underway of how to upsell and help the person you were selling to get what they wanted, because you first did that. You learned how to learned how to let the person you were talking to get what they wanted, and then the end results was you were blessed as well. So you learned that at a very young age.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's an important part of your story to connect, because
I like it.
yeah, that's definitely part of your bio. That's a part of your bio. So, okay, so now Jason is like meeting the needs of his clients, getting huge tips, really becoming successful in understanding consultative selling versus just selling, features and benefits. But you're really knowing how to do needs assessments and helping your clients. So where do you go next?
So next, let's see. Let me rewind a little bit.
Okay.
So I have 2 kids. I have 2 kids around the time that I'm working for the state. They're 9 and 11 now.
How did you get the wife first?
Well, this wasn't with the wife. This
Okay.
was with somebody else
Okay.
who does not have access to those kids anymore. And I want to proudly state that earlier this month, we had our final trial, and I have full custody. And unfortunately, she's lost her ability to speak to the children through bad choices on her end. And that was a battle. So between everything that I did in the military, I definitely had some assaults with different what we call detainees or terrorists in Guantanamo Bay and a few other things like that. The VA decided that I am a permanent and total disabled veteran, mostly because of PTSD, because of the things that I've went through in life.
Okay.
And my PTSD really, really flared up around the time that my kids were getting abused. And this is an emotional part for me. For years, I had been battling this, trying to make it better, protecting my kids, taking full care of them, paying all their bills. And when they would come back with bruises and complaints, I would call the Department of Children and Families. And every single time they just did nothing to help. There was a few times where they told me if I wanted her to have a better life, I should give her more money. If I wanted her not to smoke around the kids, I should give her more money. Basically, whatever the excuse was, she was not in the wrong. And it's my fault for not giving her more money. So it evolved to the Department of Children and Families ultimately saying that there's no abuse by the mother and the father is abusing them by coaching them to say that this abuse is happening. Well, I don't like talking about the personal stuff, but I'm going to say it. All that culminated when my eldest son had suicidal ideations and he was Baker Act. It was completely out of our control. Then the judge finally wanted to hear what my kids had to say. My kids got their talking time with the judge and my kids were safe. But that really drove me crazy. That whole process of battling PTSD, I started questioning myself. Am I the problem? Like, I see the bruises. I hear what my kids are saying. I know I'm not telling them to make this stuff up. But I started really having self-doubt whether I was doing the right thing because I was battling a system that was just against me as a man, as a Caucasian man. Some of the first DCF representatives that came over, I could tell they're scorned for me as a Caucasian man. They really didn't like that. Yeah. So they thought I should just be a paycheck. And if I give the mom more money, that's going to solve all the problems.
And they were
all that to say.
So they're looking at you just as a sperm donor with money, nothing else, no emotional attachment to your own children. And they're pushing away what the truth was. So when your son finally got to a place where he could not handle it anymore, they finally stepped in and saw the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. And how long ago was that, Jason? About?
That happened April of last year, April 2022. And we finally got the trial over and done with just last month.
Wow. Wow. Well, praise God you got the children and they're finally safe and getting the help that they need to overcome that, because that trauma stays with the kids. And so hopefully they got some good help getting through that.
They're resilient.
Yeah. And so where did the beautiful wife come in? I'm still curious about where she came into your life.
QT came into my life about 5 years ago. I was just recently separating from a previous relationship that was a few years long. And I reached out to her and we had known of each other and had a history, and she's incredibly attractive and smart and tall and charming and an amazing cook and just an amazing smile and amazing personality, all these amazing qualities. So I thought I would really be privileged and honored if I can get her attention. And so I was just coming out of a relationship, and I was talking to a few women, not even going on dates because I didn't want to, even though there were some other women that were interested in me. I didn't have the same interest back, so I didn't want to waste my time or theirs. So I reached out to her, and she was incredibly happy that I reached out. And well, history's history. We've been together ever since.
Wow. Now, do you guys have any children together or not?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Maybe one day. I always tell everybody I'm blessed because I have a beautiful woman. She's 10 years younger than me and a half an inch taller than me. And I'm not short, 5'11".
And she's an amazing stepmom to your boys.
Oh, man. Like pancakes in the mornings. Just amazing, loving. Sometimes I feel bad because since I started building these different businesses, I have less time to devote to my family. But she's there, and when I come home, the home is happy. It smells good. It's full of love, and you need that stability. You need that rock in your life.
Well, I, as your friend, going to help you do a shift change, because I too sometimes get so busy with what I do that my husband gets my leftovers. So we'll both work on that we can do a shift change together in 2023. That they come first, the business comes second.
I'll tell you what I did already. Yeah. I made a devotion at the end of last year. I said, I'm going to change my calendar around and I'm only going to work 20 hours per week. and 20 hours of taking meetings. And I actually since evolved that. Now I only have 12 hours available per week because I'm also, not only do I run multiple companies and nonprofits, I'm homeschooling kids. I'm finishing up my MBA. I have a class and a half left. We run our Airbnbs, and I still have to make time to put some lotion on her feet and give her a foot rub once in a while.
Absolutely. Those foot rubs really do it for women. Well, I'm going to pause for just a moment and show the audience your bio here for just a second. So hold on a minute. So this is Jason's bio, how you can get a hold of him. We're going to come back and talk about this. It's called the No More 9to5club.com is his website. So that's how you can reach Jason, and this will be in the video so you can find him. And before we continue on, Jason, I have to do one quick commercial from my sponsor, Holy Hydrogen. Hydrogen water is supposed to do so much healing to your cells in your body. It can reduce inflammation and just give you full health. So by buying this product, you'd love this. You got to get this for your wife. It'll blow her mind away. It's a machine that makes hydrogen water. You can drink it every day, but it also comes with a little thing you put around your ears and the nostril thing, like for breathing, like going under anesthesia. You can put it around your ears while you're on the computer and breathe in hydrogen for 30 minutes a day. It rejuvenates. So listen to Holy Hydrogen. They're offering $100 off when you use the code BraveHeart for this amazing machine.
Hydrogen is used by health professionals as a powerful antioxidant and the #1 tool to fight inflammation. Studies show therapeutic potential in cancer, diabetes, digestive, and heart issues, and essentially every organ and system in the body. This is not medical advice, because I'm not your doctor, but if you have any health concerns, I strongly recommend that you learn more about hydrogen. Get educated at holyhydrogen.com and order the best hydrogen generator known to man. Use code BraveHeart for $100 off your order. Because hydrogen is the smallest molecule in existence, it can pass through the cell membrane and even the blood-brain barrier to clear out inflammation and free radical damage where other antioxidants just can't get to. Visit holyhydrogen.com to see the latest technology that elevates your immune system and fights inflammation. Search their research library to see if hydrogen has a track record for helping a health concern you're dealing with. Make sure to use code BraveHeart for $100 off your order. Remember, holyhydrogen.com.
So that's an amazing gift, Jason, to get your wife for Valentine's Day. Hydrogen water for optimal wellness and health. So leading into the website, No More 9 to 5, take us at the last few moments here and talk to us about this fabulous company that you've created.
Sure. So the No More 9 to 5 Club stemmed from an idea that I had to teach people, more people, how to do better in life. And this came from my upbringing. I recently had a friend, one of those childhood friends that I had grown up with. He was in prison. He asked me for some money. I said, I'm only going to give you money one time. I said, after that, if you ask me for money again, I want you to ask me how I can help you earn some money, because I want to teach you how to fish. And unfortunately, I didn't have this built when he got out of prison. And within a month, he was shot and died. So I was hanging out with my old childhood friends at his wake, and I told them I'm building this. And I told them I'm building it for everybody, because some of those people are just absolutely amazing people. And some of them have stuck with me and taken my advice, and they're homeowners and business owners. And some people have went and chased their own dreams and goals. And, some of them ended up in prison or dead. So I realized if I can have an impact in people's lives where I can give them good advice and they can implement it, why not take my best trainings, the best tools that I have, and put them all together in a package that will actually set people free. So the club on the surface, it looks like financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom. But when you get into the trainings, it's actually the basic building blocks of the pyramid that somebody's going to need to be successful. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, building those basic personality traits that are going to separate somebody who can go accomplish their goals and succeed in the world versus somebody who's going to make excuses and be stagnant. So I really wanted to take those things that I learned about that helped me excel. So we have financial literacy, wealth mindset, social and emotional intelligence training, stoicism training, trusted advisor training, character development training. You know, one of the nonprofits we do, we take the National Medal of Honor Association's character development training and implement it in whoever wants to learn. So it was important that we had those basic building blocks paired with a lot of tools that we put together that teach people how to save money, earn money, and then invest money. Because the problem that I see with a lot of people is they just don't save their money. If they get a pay raise, they're going to spend more money. They're not going to invest in their future. The majority of Americans, the majority of people live in a world where they seek comfort. They seek to be comfortable. They don't seek to be comfortable tomorrow. They seek to be comfortable today. And I want to change that mindset. So in building this community, we want to change people's patterns and behaviors. We have a daily action plan. We have companies that can lower people's bills. We have companies that give people gas savings, health insurance, automobile insurance, car insurance. We have companies that can give people mortgages, car loans. And all of these companies have an affiliate aspect. So somebody can take over and share this opportunity with all of our free training and really start to change the world. The original mission was to be like Robin Hood. I actually went through and I spent over 6 figures on a bunch of coaching programs and affiliate programs and different people to help me build this thing because we wanted to give away the best of the best. And then what we learned is when we put the word free on it, people either thought it was not valuable or it was a scam. So we came up with some pretty genius ways for paid programs, which are a hit, luckily. Now nobody thinks the No More 9 to 5 Club is a scam. They all see the value, and it is actually scaling organically. So this company is only 7 months old. That's how long we've been building it, and it's going to get better. So
Well,
we invite more people.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I am just so blessed in my life to have gotten to know you. And I don't want to waste your audience's time, but the Holy Spirit just told me an aspect of your business to take off on with that. And I'll share it with you as soon as we end. So don't hang up, because what you just shared with me, there's an aspect that we need to get out to the audience about raising men in this society. And let's talk about that off the air, because I think it really aligns with what you're saying, raising men today. That's really imperative, because I too was a single, never married mom, and I raised my son by myself for 17 years. He never knew his father, unfortunately. But I have some insight to that. I think, you know, everyone out there, I'm going to say this really quickly. The one thing that I really see that's diminished our country is that people today don't reach out to seniors for knowledge and wisdom. In the Bible, you would go to the elders to learn. And in today's society, Jason, people are not doing that today. They're not going to their elders. I will be 69 in 2 weeks. And it amazes me how many young people today don't go to the 69, 70, 80-year-olds to say, can you share with us how you did this? This is imperative. We need to go back to that, because the maturity of those who have gone before us is equivalent to a college degree, and people aren't using it.
You're absolutely right. You know, thinking back on my childhood,
Hello, everybody.
I was taught to be able to think outside of the box and be so independent, because I did spend a lot of time with both of my sets of grandparents.
Yes.
So I soaked up their wisdom. I sat around and I played cards with them and listened to them talk.
Yeah.
And I was always taught as a child to be quiet and listen, versus a lot of children just want attention. So in thinking about the trainings that I got from my family, from my peers, from everybody else, and between boot camp, my education, think about what's lacking in a lot of households is just not only the elders, but even the parents themselves don't spend quality time with their kids, teaching them things. I see a lot of parents spend quality time with their kids, entertaining their kids, spoiling their kids, not actually instilling wisdom. Yeah. They're not going to get financial literacy in boot camp, or they will in boot camp, but not in high school. Our society is teaching teaching people how to be employees and followers.
Well,
And we need leaders
and
to-
even what you said with critical thinking, like my daughter-in-law, she's amazing. How she talks to, and this is what I picked up from her. So even me as a senior looking at the children, is my little grandson Grady. He just turned 7 yesterday, and he's got the most inquisitive mind, Jason. And this blew my mind away. He was walking down the street one day. He was so cute. He had his red cap on. He's carrying a bunny stuffed animal, and he's got big red sunglasses on. If you can envision this little kid, like 5 years old, he was 5 doing this, walking down the street with his mom, and he says, "Hey, Mom, how do you know if you're colorblind?" He goes, "For example, over there are a house with red bricks, and I see over there a house with white siding. But how do I know if it's really red or if it's really white?" She goes, "I don't know, Grady. What do you think?" And he goes, "I'm not sure, but I think this is something to investigate." So instead of her saying, "Well, of course it's red, Grady," or "Of course it's white," she said, "What do you think it could be?" So when our children are becoming inquisitive, instead of just throwing out, "Well, of course it's red," or "What do you, bricks are red," she just said, "What do you think it is?" So asking them to engage and getting their creative thoughts going is so important today. Don't you agree, Jason?
Not only do I agree, there's a double-edged sword to that, because I've taught my kids how to speak well at a young age. And I think that's part of the reason why the Department of Children and Families believed they were coached, because of their etiquette and the big words they knew. But that's because I've taught them, like, they can literally go up to most adults and have such an intelligent conversation that an adult wouldn't know that they were speaking to a child.
Exactly. Well, we're coming to the end of the hour. Please stay on. Right, I'm going to play the commercial at the end. Stay on. Don't hang up. And audience, it's been so great to meet Jason. Please go to his website. Please go on and schedule a consultation with him so you can be part of the 9 to 5 Club. It's amazing. I can't wait for you to join it and be a part of it. In closing, I have the privilege of speaking at the Becoming the Best You Can Be conference in St. Louis. I'm going to show you really quick so you can get tickets. Tickets are only on sale through February 16th. You can come live or it'll be virtually. We're having 40 amazing speakers at the Clayton Plaza Hotel. So go to comechangeyourlife.com. We've got Jeremy Nunes, a comedian there. We've got a fabulous country singer from Nashville going to be there. You do not want to miss this event, so get your tickets today. Jason, if you can, get a ticket and join us virtually. It's going to be amazing. Some wonderful, wonderful speakers from the globe will be at this event, and I will be speaking on Friday the 17th. So thanks, Jason. We love you so much, and thanks so much for joining the Connection Show.
Absolutely. And I hope everybody here comes into the No More 9 to 5 Club. I want to see you guys on the inside. When I say that, that's the catchphrase you'll see in a lot of my videos. It's the inside of financial freedom. It looks real good.
God bless you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us on The Connection Show. We'd appreciate your support. Please go to either our Patreon or our PayPal page to support our show. We love our podcast guests and social media subscribers, so you don't miss any of our shows. Go to our website today at BraveHeartWorkshops.com and our Contact Us page. Click on all our social media links and subscribe to and like all our pages. Our affiliate partners, thank you for your support. Go to our affiliate partners page on our website and order from them today. They're offering discounts when you mention Braveheart. Click on their website links to order from them today.